Good evening and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Millennium Tonight, and we are so glad you have found time to join us on Millennium Television. And tonight we are hosting the Kanfinsa Member of Parliament, Honorable Christopher Kangombe in the House today, and the topic of discussion is the Constitution. As you may well be aware, matters of the Constitution have slowly been sinking into us as a serious issue of topical debate from the time there was issues surrounding the President's assertion that there are lacunas in the Constitution, and thereafter many more debates also were triggered by recent statements that were made regarding the need for constitutional amendments. And we thought it prudent to bring in the House a seasoned campaigner in the National Assembly, Honorable Christopher Kangombe, to speak to the issue of the Constitution and matters relating to it. Honorable Kangombe, welcome to Millennium tonight.
Extremely grateful that I got a call that you wanted me to come and speak to the citizens, speak to the Zambians, speak to those that are outside Zambia on an issue that concerns them, which issue is the Constitution of Zambia. So I'm very grateful to Millennium TV for inviting me. I'm extremely grateful.
Thank you very much. Yeah. We are privileged to host you, Honorable.
Thank you.
Indeed, viewers, it's me, Collins Bonsamuli, to take you through the deliberations as we discuss further on the Constitution. Honorable Kangombe, perhaps in delving into the matter, as an opposition member of Parliament, what evidence do you have to challenge the President's claims about the broad consultations with stakeholders regarding the proposed constitutional amendments, particularly concerning the youths and the civil society organizations?
Well, first of all, Collins, you might be aware that this is not the first time a political party in government wants to propose amendments to a constitution. Okay, it's not the first time, and because it's not the first time, I was expecting that our colleagues would maybe take a bit of time to go back maybe 20-30 years ago when President Chiluba commissioned the Mwanakato Review Commission. So there's a report. If you go to Cabinet Office, there's a report which is the 1996 Mwanakatwe Review Commission. Okay, so the Mwanakatwe Review Commission basically was an attempt by the MMD government under President Chiluba to engage the public, hear what they want amended in the Constitution so that there's input from the public. Now that is 1996. 2003, President Mwanawasa appointed the Mungomba Review Commission, a second commission. And I've not gone back 40 years ago because we had the Chona Commission. Okay. I've started from 96 because it's a bit close. That's like 30 years ago. Yes. So Mwanawasa appoints the late Willard D. Mungomba to lead the commission. And at that time, there was so much public engagement. They went around the country. They came to the Copperbelt University where they picked submissions. I made my own submissions. 2004, I was a first-year student. They went to Choma, they went to Mongu. They covered literally all the 10 provinces of Zambia, picking submissions. Then, 2007, President Mwanawasa, before he died, appointed another team to lead the constitution making process, which was the National Constitutional Conference.
Yeah.
Okay, 2007. Again, they went round and there was a meeting at Mulungushi where stakeholders gathered to say, this provision we agree, this provision we don't agree. Then we had the 2016 technical report. Remember that the constitution we are discussing today is a product of the 2016 amendments.
Oh, yes.
So there was a technical report. What that technical committee did, Collins, was to gather all these old reports, pick out what people were saying. And then that's how they submitted the 2016 amendments. Fast forward, National Dialogue Forum, the NDF. You remember that I was kicked out at the National Dialogue Forum. I was mayor for Kitwe at that time. Yes. Because of all the good things that were in Bill 10, as far as mayors were concerned, there was a concern on how a mayor should be elected. But the rest of the things, we did agree with some of the most important key issues. But for us in local government, we raised a concern. The point I'm making is that you can't make a constitution without presenting the document to the public. So the starting point for me is that there's a history which we need to learn from. The history which tells us that before you tamper with the Constitution of Zambia, before you come up with what you're calling your proposals as government, you first of all need to ask the public. And now there's social media, now there's Facebook, now there's Twitter, now literally there are too many platforms.
Oh, yes.
You can simply say, we are opening the window for submissions. Of all these reports that we have, of the 2016 Constitution that we have, what things should we change, what should we maintain, and what should be altered in wording? So to answer your question, I know I've taken a bit long, but it's necessary that those that are tuned in are able to understand where we're coming from. So where we're coming from, Collins, we've had consultative processes. Every time government has attempted to tamper with the Constitution, Constitution, just to touch a bit of it, you need to ask people, what should we change? So the president, the former Minister of Justice was on radio saying we've consulted widely. No, you haven't consulted widely. Actually, you lose nothing. One of the ingredients of a good constitution is consultation. So for me to answer your question, I think that government has views of what they want to change. That's government. You can't take away their opportunity or privilege to say, for us in government, we think this. But the Constitution is not a government document. It's a people's document. So I would have hoped that before this publicity which has arisen, why I'm even here this evening, it's because there's uncertainty. It's because there hasn't been adequate transparency. I don't think it's too late for government to simply say, we've listened to your concerns and we're now going to agree on a roadmap for consultation. So I don't agree that sufficient consultation has taken place.
But where does the government get the claims that consultations have been made with the youth and women alike? And there's also been notions attributing consultations through desk reviews and consultations also by looking into the technical reports.
The old reports, the ones I referred to.
Yes, as I think claims are that there has been broad consultations and much advice has come from the Ministry of Justice.
Well, let me give an example. If the 1996 Mwanakatwe report made a certain recommendation 30 years ago, that recommendation may not be valid today. Okay? If the Kangombe Review Commission of 2004, which was later published, I think the report was done 2 years later, if they made a certain recommendation, we have to ask the citizens today, because 30 years ago, some of the people who this constitution will affect were not born.
Okay.
Okay, someone was born in 2000. They are 25 years old. They don't know what was recommended 6 years earlier, which is 96. So for me, my appeal to government, you can't rely on 30-year reports. You can't rely on the Kangombe Commission of 2004. You can't rely on the 2007 NCC recommendations. Neither can you rely on the 2019 National Dialogue Forum recommendations. Those are reference documents. You simply ask yourself, okay, here's a window, here's 30 days. Let's give people 30 days. Let's give people 60 days. Ask them, can you make comments on the current constitution? Because what government is proposing are amendments to the current constitution, which is the 2016 constitution. So what we should be discussing, you and I and the members of the public and those that are tuned in today, what we should be discussing is there input from the people of Mazabuka, for instance, on this document that we want to amend? I am a member of parliament in Kanfinsa constituency. I don't remember a meeting in Kanfinsa where we called people in Mlenga compound to say, mwebe na Mlenga, finshi mlefu ayatuvike mumulupapulo lwanyu. So the point I'm making is that government does not lose anything to acknowledge that they have their own issues that concern government, but the things that concern the public can't be based on the 1996 Mwanakatwe Review Commission, can't be based on the 2004 Kangombe Commission. You lose nothing as government to simply say, yes, we have these old reports. But what about what concerns young people today? What concerns women today? What concerns the elderly people today? There's a provision in the Constitution, for instance, which says that if you are employed by anyone, you retire and your benefits are not yet ready, you have to be retained on the payroll. Okay, that is in the current Constitution. So we need to ask people who have used this provision, whether it's working or not, whether companies are retaining people on the payroll, what else needs to be done to reinforce that one, because it's a good provision. It came about in 2016. So if we ask the workers, what do we do to this law? Maybe others will say, let's put in punitive measures for those who don't comply with this regulation. So the point I'm making is that let people also submit, and we're not going to lose anything.
Why do you think government is adamant about listening to the voices that supposedly in the majority in coming up with the consensus with regards to the constitution making process or amendment?
There might be two reasons, and I know that our colleagues from government are tuned in. They must be seated somewhere wanting to hear what is Christopher Kangombe saying. I'm not a malicious member of parliament. In my public service, Collins, the time I've served from councillor, mayor, now I'm a member of parliament, I stick to the issue. The issue here is, you've asked a question, why is government adamant? Why are they not asking the public to say, we have our issues, what are your issues?
Yes.
One of the reasons I've observed where the arrogance is coming from is that they've looked at the numbers in parliament. So the way parliament is designed, you and I can't change a law, okay? You can't change the law. Colleagues from the media, civil society can't change a law. It's the 156 MPs who have to vote. So to change the constitution, you need 156. So our colleagues in government have looked at the numbers. So 156, 2/3 plus the 10, plus those that the vice president, so the total comes to about 163. So they've looked at what is 2/3. So 2/3 is about 112, 113. So the UPND government, the UPND as a political party, have been having meetings and they've looked at the numbers in parliament. And they've realized, actually, when we add UPND MPs, we add those from PF that are agreeing with them, and we add those independent MPs that are agreeing with them, they realize that they have the numbers to amend this constitution. Now, when you have the numbers to amend the constitution, it does not mean that you need to ignore the public, because what they are doing now is they want to quickly present these amendments to parliament, and these amendments most likely they will go through when they look at the numbers. There are some of us who don't agree because we haven't seen anything. What should happen is government should announce, and this is what I challenged government last week. By now, this debate would have been rested. I would not even be seated here today. Actually, I would have been here saying, I've looked at the proposed amendments. I've also listened to what the public, what the members of the public are saying, and on Article 5, I agree with members of the public, or on Article 6, I don't agree with this stakeholder. That is what I should have been discussing here, but here we are. Collins, we have no working document. Actually, we are now discussing this, we're having this debate because there hasn't been publication. Our colleagues in government has not availed any working document, because by now government would have said, okay, the president has spoken about it, Minister of Justice has spoken about it, Honorable Ahim, the former Minister of Justice, has had interviews about it. Here is the document. Here is the document that now requires people to make comments over. And this is just our document as government. What about you, the members of the public? So the reason why government is adamant, why they have not published any document, I don't think it is because there is no draft. Because I've seen a headline in one of the tabloids that actually there is no draft. I think they have a working document. They have something they are looking at. So if government has something they are looking at, let them publish it. They publish it, and then quickly, stakeholders, civil society, the church, the youth groups, students from various learning institutions will now interrogate what concerns them. And then we can have something to work with. But as things stand, the arrogance, I want to repeat, the reason they are doing this is because some members of parliament have not had time to interrogate this issue. And some are agreeing, let's just amend. After all, The constituencies will be, there will be delimitation, because the president talked about delimitation. And you probably may ask me, MP, what is your view about delimitation? Even in Bill 10, delimitation was there. You remember, it was provided for. The government at that time wanted a provision in the constitution which says there shall be 156 constituencies to be removed, because that one is, it limits the number of constituencies.
The number of constituencies.
Yeah, the constitution says there shall be. So you can't just create a constituency without changing the constitution. So in short, our colleagues have been adamant because they, technically speaking, they have the numbers. So there are those of us who don't agree with the roadmap they've pursued, and we are hoping that they could listen to what the members of the public are saying.
In the long run, what would be the implications of ignoring the larger voice from the public and the UPNG government going ahead to make amendments through the powers they may have in the National Assembly?
Well, it's called the arrogance of numbers. When the numbers are with you, you can bring any law. That's how come there's never been a law which has been rejected, apart from the time we rejected the Mines and Minerals Commission bill. Remember, I debated where I said, look, you may have the numbers to change this law, but there's no local content. They listened because there was pressure from the contractors who said, no, mining companies are not giving us jobs. Which other law? The cyber laws. Remember last year, our colleagues in government wanted to bring two laws, the cyber security law and the cyber crimes law. What did we do? We raised concerns. We mobilized civil society, and they listened to the pressure. So this time around, if they've been listening, the preliminary response, the immediate feedback from people is that even if you have the numbers, you don't have the support from the public. So you can have numbers in parliament, but you don't have public support. So what is the effect of that? The effect of that is that it is, people might actually, others might protest. You will see people saying, we're not a political party, but we are civil society. We are going to protest because you have bulldozed the process. Others will not protest. They'll sit back and say, okay, you've amended the most important document in the country, which is the Constitution, but you don't have public support. Others will come and speak during voting. Others will say, you ignored our views. We know you are only 84, UPND has 84 MPs, and they have 8 nominated. So 84 plus 8 is almost like 92. And then there's the vice president. So 84 plus 1, 85. Plus those independent, those PF who agree with them, not all of us. So if you look at them, they are just a few citizens. The majority will say, oh, so you've changed the constitution, but you did not consult us. So the net effect is that you have a government that is changing laws where the input of the members of the public is actually not provided for. I want to repeat, Collins, there's too much history to learn from. UPND was in opposition how long? From 1998. I was expecting that UPND would do things differently. I was expecting that they would use history as a starting point. How did our colleagues who attempted to change the constitution do it? They threw it to the public. Even where they did not agree, the input was there. Even where they said, okay, you are saying this, but as government we are saying this. It's engagement, it's talking to each other.
But the long-awaited voice from the church mother bodies has come out, and they are of the opinion that the constitution-making process can hold until after the elections, because right now the political environment is charged, and it may not be the right time to bring about such a delicate process, because people are aggrieved, and others may be wanting to force it on the people because of ulterior motives. But if it were to be left for a time later after the 2026 elections, then there would be prudence in that action.
So should we do it now or should we do it later? So where there's transparency, let me put it this way. Where there's transparency, where the document, what I'm calling the working document, where the draft is a product of people's participation, where people have participated, where people have said, if we let kumanga wa change, if we let kumange misepela, what is concerning us as young people is Article 16. I'm just giving an example.
Oh, yes.
Where people feel, ownership is important. When you are changing a law and people are part of the process, do you know that it's difficult for people to reject? The same civil society organizations, if the last couple of years UPND has been in power, if they've been talking to government on the constitution, do you know the people who will be advocating for these amendments? It would be the people themselves. If there was a record of a meeting, say at the University of Zambia, to say, students, on the constitution of Zambia, what do you think? You give students 3 days to submit. Today, students, not the leadership, the students populace would actually be saying, we support this document. The church would actually be saying, we are part of this process. So civil society has said, let's not do it now. It's their opinion, they are entitled. But what is causing that is that there is no working document which has been published. I asked this question in Parliament. I asked the Minister of Justice, Minister, do you know why people are apprehensive? Do you know why people are saying, let's hold this process? Because you've not been transparent. Transparency demands that you just publish. You say, us as government, here is the document.
Government has stakeholders.
Here are the three provisions. Government should say, actually, it's not a shopping list we have. We only have 2 amendments to make. By now, this is now the second week since the president said we are amending. So by now, government should have been proactive. I'm blaming the government machinery. They should have been proactive to say, His Excellency has said this. Here are the issues that concern people. Here are the things that concern young people. Now, up to now, you and I are seated here. People are tuned in. Others are expecting that from this evening's interaction, I'll be able to say, actually, they want to amend this provision.
Based on the statement that there could be lacunas in the Constitution that may lead to the president being in power for 7 to 9 or 10 years, as the president did make earlier. I think that has brought this sense of apprehension amongst the people. This sense, some suspicion of a kind to say that there could be some scheme to want to extend the tenure of the president. That may be one of the issues that are feeding into the mistrust. And of course, we had the issue that erupted just a couple of weeks back with regards the discrepancies of the Electoral Commission of Zambia Register and Zamstat's data. That also comes at a time when the Constitution is being debated and the issue is amendments. And people are looking at those issues that arose in those discussions, feeding into the debate with regards to the amendments, and that also brings about a lot of discomfort. What do you think could be driving this inertia against the constitution-making amendment process?
So you've given examples. Let me simplify them for those that are not aware. So Zambia Statistical Agency did a census. They went round and they published a report. Okay, so this report tells you how many people are on the Copper Belt, how many people are in Luapula, how many are in Western, Northwestern, Southern, Central, and Lusaka. So Zamstat is the only agency by law which should tell us how many people are in Zambia. So Zamstat publishes this report and it's loaded online, because if you go to the Zamstat's website, the report was loaded, so you could just go, because if you are in the UK, all you need to go is go to the website, then you know how many people are in Zambia. So now there was a report which was being launched. I think it's this year.
This year, yes.
So the Civil Service Commission chairperson who attended the launch somehow rose his hand up and said, no, this report is not factual. Okay? This report is telling you that there are, is it 15 words in Southern Province that were not correctly captured in terms of the population. Now, how did the Civil Service chairperson know the correct population in those 15 words? When Zamstats, the agency which is mandated to do, gave its own statistics, and the chairperson, the board chairperson of Zamstats, was appointed by the president. So it's not like this is the old guy who was there when MMD was in power or when PF was in power. I think these are appointments that have been made recently. So Zamstats says, no, Mr. Beani, what you're saying is not true. The report, the figures are exactly this. Then people start arguing. Two government agencies, Zamstats and the one that employs civil servants, they start arguing in front of the media. So now that raises concerns. And that is why for me I'm saying to rest these concerns, to allay fears, to prevent people from continuing speculations. This is why I asked this question in Parliament. I asked the minister, I said, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Justice should be authorized to publish, because there's a draft. They have something they are looking at. The President said there's a draft. So if there's a draft, I'm seeing a situation where these speculations, people will continue saying, oh, that's why Civil Service Commission is saying this. It's because, when you are transparent with public documents such as the Constitution, people buy in. Okay, people buy in. It's easy for people to say, actually, there are no complicated provisions which government wants to change. But right now, people are left to speculate. Why are they left to speculate? Because the Minister of Justice, and I sympathize, the Minister of Justice up to now has not been authorized to publish what government wants to change. So someone needs to tell the Minister of Justice, okay, proceed, because there are just too many speculations. I'm hoping that government, through the people you are inviting, you've invited me today. I want to appeal to government, those that are tuned in, Minister of Information, can you please publish what you want to change? Let people provide their comments. Let people say what you are proposing as government is not what we don't agree. I'm telling you, Collins, we would have settled this matter. It's now, second week since I asked for this to be presented in Parliament. A week is about to elapse. Today is Wednesday. When is government publishing what they want to change? So that members of the public can also be able to say, for us as marketeers, for us in the informal sector, for us in the mining sector, what concerns us in the Constitution is this. Let me give an example very quickly before you ask me my next question.
Okay.
There's a provision in the current Constitution which says to dispose of a state asset, a major state asset like Mopani, like which state asset can I give as an example? Things that belong to the state.
Oh, yes.
You need to ask Parliament to vote 2/3 again. So people now will be left to speculate. Does government want to remove that provision, or among the things they are proposing, there's a way to reinforce that provision? Now, people can only know, Collins, if the draft, a draft, we can simply say a working document, each paper, each letter, if the things that need to be changed. I was expecting by now, today is the 19th, the month of March should not end without people having a working document. Once we have a working document, I'll come back here and I'll be able to say, I've looked at what government wants to change. Here I agree, here I don't agree. Actually, this is bad. I'll be able to say this is good. And that is why people have been asking, okay, government wants to have more young people in Parliament. Government is saying one of the things they want to include in the Constitution is to have more women representation. But where is the draft? Where is it written? Okay, what about the current provisions which talk about young people, women? How is government using the current law?
Apparently, I was interested in that because that happened to have been what I wanted us to speak to. Really,
yeah.
Our current constitution really does have provisions that address that address matters with regards the youth and the women
when making appointments.
When making appointments, indeed. Yes. How is it that those provisions have been used in the recent past? Has there been any oversight in the application of the law in that regard?
To have more women and to have more youth?
Yes. Or is it that the law itself does not address the concerns that the president in turn wishes to amend in the Constitution?
Well, so Article, is it 256, talks about when making appointments, consideration should be made for young people, for women,
yes,
for the disabled, for the special groups, okay? So now, I'll tell you for a fact that Parliament you are seeing, they are youthful members of Parliament, and I'm using the word youthful.
Yes.
And we have women. We have women in parliament. Now, for them to get to parliament, for me to become a member of parliament, it was not an easy ride. Okay, you have to campaign, you have to lobby, you have to get people to support you. I've contested 4 elections up to this stage. I've been a councillor. Twice I won, I was mayor. I won, 4th time I was member of parliament. The first time I was standing as a councillor, I had flyers, simple flyers, my portrait and what I wanted to do for the residents of Kitwe as a councillor. Somehow I managed to win because people gave me a chance. Oh, yes. I campaigned. Without the support of the people, I wasn't going to win. Oh, yes. People gave me a chance. Along the way, politics have become competitive. It's expensive to campaign. So the starting point, Collins, and I'll come to your question. How do we get more women? How do we get more youth into parliament? Because even if the constitution was to be changed to reserve seats for the youth, to reserve seats for women, it can't be everyone. The opportunities will still be limited to a handful. If we want to achieve the objective is representation, we should actually be asking ourselves, can we empower young people to compete in an election? Can we empower women to compete in an election? What prevents women from coming to parliament, as many as possible, is that they do not have the logistics that are needed to run a campaign. You know, a campaign, there are logistics involved. Yes. To put a billboard, to run flyers, to print a t-shirt, to sort it to you need people to run your errands. So the starting point is, can we empower the youth? Can we also empower the women? Now, the president currently is empowered under the Constitution of Zambia when he's making appointments. So there are 8 nominated members of parliament. If you go to parliament there, I'm trying to look at the 8. Okay? Honorable Mtati, Honorable Kapala, Honorable Mazoka, Honorable Milupi. Who are the other 3 nominated? Yeah, so if you look at that list, the president had an opportunity there to load young people. Yala ni 8 yali. Na walipo samo 4 youth, 2 women, and maybe 2-3 elderly people, because we need to move together.
Yes.
So my appeal to government is that, yes, 8 slots may not be enough to load everyone. So if government wants the constitution to have reserved seats for the youth, reserved seats for the women, before we look at that, can we also ask ourselves, are young people empowered enough to compete for elections? I've been through this process, 4 elections. Collins, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's expensive. It's challenging. Others will say, what will these young people do? For women, you find that sometimes women don't get the right support from the public. So there are these challenges, but the starting point is, can we empower these groups?
So this is an issue that is compounded more in our social, cultural, and economic
women and the youth are not empowered. They have challenges. Me, I was fortunate. I had colleagues who would say, boy, let me help you with this. You speak to colleagues, old friends from uni, old friends from CBU, old friends from Kitwe Boys. You pick a phone call, boy, I'm standing, I need help. So it's not easy. Not everyone will have the opportunity to be supported. Maybe some of us started leadership early, so it was easy for people to say, okay, Christopher has potential to be in leadership. Let's support him. Not everyone has that opportunity. My phone is flooded with young people, women who are saying, help us, we want to contest elections in 2016. They don't have the logistics to win an election. So let's not just say, let's change the law. Let's also ask ourselves, how many opportunities are available, even under the current law, to be able to support women? Let's empower them, let's empower the youth, apart from looking to changing the constitution. So we need to do both.
So in essence, that is the more reason why the draft constitution should be available to the public, so that such recommendations, such submissions can come through. And
exactly.
Maybe the way it is phrased in the draft, it might have to be pampered a bit or worked on a bit.
Well, that one should remain. When appointments are being made, President Hichilema or any president who will come in future, they will have to consider young people and the women when doing appointments. That has to remain. Article 256 should remain. But we need another article, Collins. We need an article which says when political parties are adopting candidates, okay? So the question has been, someone was asking me, MP, so if we say political parties should adopt more youth and more women, which constituencies? Because there are 156. So which are those constituencies where we will say Kanfinsa should have a youth? Which law will say Mazabuka Central should have a youth? Who's going to decide which constituents should have a woman, should have a youth? So you see, that is why we need a Political Parties Act. We need a law which explains how political parties should function. Those are now details which should be in an act of parliament. So to answer your question, there is still provision in the current law to get to consider more women and more youth. But I would favor, for me as a member of parliament, looking at my experience, the challenges I've faced to get to parliament, I would still favor the notion that empowered young people, empowered women are able to compete. And thirdly, the law on political parties should be clear that political parties should adopt, there must be some guide that should be provided when adopting candidates. The challenge is adoption. To adopt Christopher Kangombe, it's not an easy task because you have to convince people that you are the right person. Yes. So it's not an easy ride.
It serves for a very, very tedious task for those that are supposed to make that choice. Coming to the issue of delimitation, perhaps one issue that a lot of people argue to say that much as there could be opposition to the amendments to the Constitution, delimitation could be necessary owing to the need for equitable distribution of resources in terms of even for the current CDF and other development programs that government may be rolling out. They are disproportionate largely because
so big.
Yes. How do you attend to that issue?
Well, I try to be consistent. So Christopher Kangombe, in my journey in leadership, I don't like speaking because today I'm this side, so let me say this. Let me be as consistent as possible. Sure. And I want our colleagues in government to learn. It's a lesson. It's a lesson for it's a lesson for you, PND. Wherever our colleagues are watching, I think for me, I want to start from this angle. This is a big lesson for you, PND. Okay, because butane, the butane they rejected. I'll come to my views. Okay. So I'll start with UPND. The UPND was in opposition. The butane they rejected had a provision that aligns with the Constitution of Zambia and the Electoral Process Act. So laws of Zambia state that every 10 years you must review, okay, boundaries, the constituencies, whatnot. This is a requirement of the law. Now, there's also a provision in the law which says there shall be. So you can't just wake up and say, I'm increasing the number of constituencies, because the law says there can only be 156. So Britain had that provision. At that time, it was convenient for our colleagues in UPND to reject those provisions. Government at that time, which is the Patriotic Front, brought a bill called Bill 10, which had delimitation included. Okay, so they rejected these things. Then now they are saying no, delimitation is important. So you see, political parties should not change positions, and that is why, for me as Christopher Kangombe, I want to be consistent, because 10 years from now you should get this clip and say, Christopher, when you were 40 years old, you said this. What you're saying is not the same. The current government has changed its position. They are now saying, no. To take development to more constituencies, we need to make resources available. Let's reduce the big constituencies. It sounds good, okay? If you were to ask me what is my personal view, my personal view is that there's a development gap in Zambia, okay? I travel a lot. I've been to Mongu, I traveled to Sesheke, I traveled to Kalabo, I did all the districts in Western Province. I did my own personal travel. 2022, I interacted with young people. I went into Northern Province, I've been into Luapula. I've seen the gaps in development. I see what is in Lusaka. the roads flying over. I've seen shopping malls. I've seen jobs in northwestern province. To get to Solwezi, there's Mushindamo in between. I see the lack of development in Mushindamo, and I see Solwezi is better. Not that it's properly developed, but I see these gaps. Then I'm asking myself, what instrument can we use to bridge this gap? So one of the instruments is obviously getting more resources into those areas that are less developed. So my proposal would be, before I come to delimitation, is that even before we increase the number of constituencies, we should also ask ourselves, what is our rural development strategy? We should ask ourselves as Zambians, not political parties. We should ask ourselves, what is our rural development strategy? How did China develop the rural part of Zambia before the core comes in? So if increasing the number of constituencies in less developed areas will help us, me as Christopher Kangombe, I wouldn't want to say that is a problem. I don't think that getting more resources into a big constituency would be made easier if we divided it into two. Kanchibia is a product of Mpika. It was Mpika constituency. President Sata said, no, Mpika is too big. Let's create Kanchibia out of Mpika. That was delimitation. Okay? Go to Solwezi. At some point, Solwezi was just one constituency. Now there's Solwezi Central, there's Solwezi East, and there's Solwezi West. That is delimitation. So delimitation is a strategy that allows for better representation, better resources going into the constituency, but that can't be the only strategy. We must speak broadly. And for me, my recommendation is that, yes, apart from population, let's also look at geographical size. So we must have an equitable way of sending resources to our people. I would be happy to see Malole constituency, for instance, in Northern Province. You can't have Malole bordering Imbala. Malole constituencies bordering Isoka. Malole constituencies bordering Kasama. It's one of the biggest constituencies there. You can't develop with 30 million kwacha. So we need a strategy, a rural development strategy. That for me will help us. And within that strategy, if increasing the number of constituencies where people need more resources, for me, I would support that proposal.
Would it be a necessary step to take before the 2026 elections?
It's practical. It's possible to say Kitwe has 5 constituencies. It has a big population. The resources going into Kitwe are not enough. Can we create 2 more constituencies in Kitwe? It's practical. It's possible. When the constitution was changed, initially we had 150. I don't know. We must be good students of history to be, when we're analyzing issues.
Yes.
So we had 150 constituencies in Zambia. The Patriotic Front created 6. Okay? Some of these, like I gave an example, are a product of delimitation.
Yes.
So maybe the question is, people are speculating because government hasn't published the draft. So let's not dangle one good provision to hide others. Transparency demands that put those things on the table. Let people be able to say, okay, what will it take to have 2, 3 extra constituencies? What is the cost? People should be free to talk. You know, we can't prevent information going out by only a handful knowing the draft. So it's coming back. Honorable,
just hold your thought, Honorable, as we accommodate a caller.
Publish the amendments.
Indeed. Caller, we are through to Millennium tonight, and we have Honorable Christopher Kangombe in the house. Would you care to give us your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Ezekiel Kapiteka, calling you from Mazabuka.
Would you care to turn down the volume on your TV set? We are getting terrible feedback.
Ezekiel from Mazabuka.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. Go ahead with your comment or question.
My comment it was very market.
We have a problem with your line. It's scrambled.
He's talking about delimitation.
Yes.
I think he's using Kanfinsa as an example.
I'm talking in terms of demarcation of the constituency.
We can get you clearer now.
Yes, Mpika was divided to Kanchivia and the Mpika Central being there. Look at Petauke again. Petauke is just too big. If you go to Petauke, you start from Petauke to somewhere, demarcation is in Sinda, Mwanjawan to up to Nimba somewhere there, it's Petauke. Why can't they demarcate it as well? It's just too big. That's my concern. I've heard what you have said, how Kanchivia was demarcated, those always was demarcated. I've been into this whole constituency. But look at Petauke again. It's just too big. The 30 million cannot develop Petauke. There is Msumbazi, there is Mvuvye, there is Sandwe. It's just too big. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Work well.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel from Mazabuka. Ezekiel seems to echo similar sentiments to yours.
Yeah, except he hasn't referred to my broader perspective. The broader perspective, if I was in government today, and this is why we use parliament to bring motions.
Yes.
One of the things I want us to do as a country is to develop a rural development strategy.
Just hold your thought, Honorable. We have another caller on the line. You are through to Millennium tonight. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Okay, my name is Mr. Teska.
Yeah, Mr. Teska from where?
From Matelo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Through, you can pass a comment or question, please.
Good evening, Honorable Kangombe.
Good evening, and thank you for calling in.
Okay, thank you. My contribution, Mr. Moderator, this evening is about on constitutional amendment.
Yes.
My submission right now, sir, I think we citizens, we are really trying by all means so that we really understand the constitutional amendment, because others, they don't understand the processes, how constitutional amendments take place. So now, my request, I'm trying by all means to request you as the moderator from from Millennium TV to do to bring the proposals contained in Bill 10, so that as we are discussing this time around concerning this constitutional amendment, at least we need to understand the bad part of Bill 10 and the bad part of these proposals. So this draft constitution which UPN is really busy talking about, because they don't engage what is necessary to be done in the same proposals. This constitutional amendment is done where stakeholders must take part of it. What we are hearing today is conflicting statements from the President and Mr. President and his spokesman from State House, Hamasaka, whilst the Minister of Justice is saying something else contrary to what they are saying. So as citizens, we need to be serious. We need to take good points from why they are doing this time around, because elections are just around the corner. Church bodies, student bodies, high-ranking institutions and trade unions must be part and parcel of the draft constitution amendment. And if I may ask a question this time around, if I may ask a question to the President is being empowered to do what? To appoint what we call CRC, Constitution Review Commission. When did the President did that process? Who is the CRC at the moment, who went around the country to elect members from the same institution I've mentioned who supposed to take part of constitution amendment? This is not okay. As a country, we need to be serious. We need to be truthful. We don't need to put lies in front of everything. No. Sometimes you might think that us citizens were politicizing the process, of which we are not being told something which is correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teska from Matero. Teska from Matero there.
So he's agreeing with what I've said. Number one, people will end up speculation. Government will end up accusing citizens of politicizing the constitution because they haven't published the draft. Two, just like saying, which team went round? Who
Another caller on the line now, Honorable. Hello, you are through to Millennium tonight. Your name and contribution.
Okay, my name is Robert Senzuma. I'm calling you within Lusaka.
Robert, go ahead with your question or contribution.
Okay, so, good evening, Honorable.
Good evening, Robert. How are you?
I'm okay.
Thank you.
Okay, my concern is about the constitution. I think we are too fast to change the constitution. We are in rush. I think our government, the first volume, to the fast. We can't do any amendment.
Yeah.
Because our president and draft. Manje bachitire draft na banani. If of my youth, taparo for to shibe. Ama women, taparo for the shibe. Ama disabled, taparo for the shibe. No matter president, bachitire draft na banani. Even the government don't know. And it seems like government is fast. Ukuchinja constitution. Bushaba wa honorable. If the constitution, what if I fit to fit at two and a film if the property in the constitution or whatever could stand. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you very much for your submission, Robert.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
So, first of all, let me simplify it. So in Zambia, currently as we are seated here, there's already a constitution.
Yes.
So the constitution is the supreme law. So all these laws of Zambia, they come from the constitution. So constitution is pamoja. So what government is saying is that they want to make changes. So when you touch a constitution, you are not replacing the constitution, you are amending, meaning so what the last caller is saying is that where is the draft? Meaning, where are the things that government wants to change? Okay? So that question, I'm transferring it to government. I'm on record in Parliament, Member of Parliament for Kanfinsa, Agent Matter. I asked the Minister of Justice the same question. Give us the provisions that you want to change. Let people like Robert and the last caller also provide input. We'll be moving together. There's a term that is used by people that are accustomed to these processes, that the process protects the content, meaning how you want to change the constitution will protect what you want to change. How you want to change it will protect what you want to change. The process will help us protect the content. The content are the good things. Constitution we can only protect those things if we pursue a process that carries the people. So we move together with the people. I think all these scholars today would have been saying it is main material who suggested that amendment.
Without a consensus, we will have no binding constitution.
Without consensus, UPND will still proceed to amend because they have the numbers in parliament, but there will be no public support. People will sit in their homes saying, we are not part of this constitution making process.
Well, that seems to be a very, very difficult situation that the people of Zambia will be put in if it were to go to that. Do you think there is a moral justification for the UPND as a government to take on such a route?
I want to repeat what I said, and this is advice to our colleagues in government. You are not the first political party in government. Even if you have the numbers in parliament, can you carry people with you? Let people own the process. Let people be proud that they participated in the process that came up with a new constitution of Zambia. From a political point of view, I expected them to do better because they've been through this process. The existence of UPND from 1998 up to date, existence of PF from 2001 up to date, MMD, these political parties put together. These political parties understand where we're coming from. I didn't expect that it would take so long for government to say, well, citizens have a right. Here are the 3-4 things we want to tamper with. Can you also tell us what you think should be amended? then people would move together. In the absence of that route, in the absence of that process, people will not own the constitutional making process.
Well, Honorable, thank you for that. Perhaps we can just accommodate 2 more callers before we come to our closing remarks. Yes. Hello, caller. You are through to Millennium tonight. We are talking to Honorable Christopher Kangombe. We are talking about the issue of the Constitution. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Simon, calling from Mansa.
Welcome, Mr. Simon from Mansa. Can you can proceed with your submission, please?
Yes, please. I just want to talk about the delimitation exercise. Yes, like what is on the ground, this process is too late. We have less than 2 years, just here between 2 elections. So, government hapa naicherwa. I remember very well the PF government bali ya Kenyama district, for example, Mwense, Chipiri was in Mwense. Ayama district up to now, they have food equipped. So government nganayikwata a program ya kulundama district. Let first work on the old district, the whole. Bayabombelepo, bayawani, so that you have to get a district level. Because ayengi, bayabomba wino. So better, bayapande bayapwishe, then wakese, lunda bayambama district. Again, party constitution. I also remember when PF budget proposed ya bill 10. Bale isa na ka community ya kanono apali ama households ya 10 bale imanina bakwata ma meetings na abantu babe pusha balanga ne film propose constitution then abantu bakwata if ya kulanda po. Number 1 this time twaisa umfafi kwati ibomu ya poka ati kuchita amend constitution. No. Government wala itunga difference wala eba government kaya kane kozi list ya my elections. PF during Dr. ECL government bali share debt swap. Bamono kutira ama civil servants tabekere wino mulandula mankongole bakwata maloni natubafweko okulipira. Iyo UPND government yaishire bayishira asko kutira. No, this was political. Edgar Lungu did this in order to gain its political mileage. By cancer. Inshiri onse litali pilile ama civil servants yamonati my election lero bali saba kita cancel up to date bali kanshire. Nishi bali kanshire balungu baletere program panchita ya campaign. Bena nishi bengaletera ayama programs ya bili panchita ya campaign. Meaning bala abatunganya filifyonse. So government na ilolele ama election ya pite, then they will go ahead with these programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tuatashakuma Sakolife Wino Mkwai.
Can I comment? I don't know.
Please go ahead, Honorable. Please respond to this quickly, and then we make our closing remarks.
What he has said comes back to what I said earlier. When you are in the opposition, sometimes it is important to be objective. If it was good to do delimitation then, UPND should have supported the delimitation exercise at that time. When Bill 10 was
I said 2 last calls, Honorable. This happens to be the last one.
Yeah.
And you are through to Millennium tonight. Your name and where you're calling us from? Come again, please.
Manda.
Mr. Manda, please, you can go ahead with your submission.
Yeah, I would like first of all, Honorable, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Amanda. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, yes. Honorable, we appreciate you for explaining to us to, at least we are gaining knowledge now about this delimitation, because I'll give an example. It should be 2016 somewhere, there was a district that was mentioned. It should be Kanfinsa, and there's another district in Southern Province that was created, which is Kankata. So when you go in this district, there is no development that has been taken there. Go to food, there is no even support where they operate on. So I would rather first develop those districts which are existing already. That's why now they can add some. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that happens to be our final caller, and
So,
you can speak to that,
as
and
I
we
conclude.
finally conclude.
So let me summarize. The problem we have in Zambia, I don't know if it's an African problem, I don't know if it's a democracy problem. It's common in so many countries, whether Western, whether America. Politics are wired around political parties. The way we do politics, it's almost like, oh, first, political party, what is the position of the political party? Sometimes politics do not identify principles. So when I say principle, what is the principle? If you are in the opposition, if the limitation is good and you are in the opposition, you should support it. If the limitation is bad and you are in the opposition, you should say it's bad. When you form government, don't change. Okay? What I'm trying to say is that laws of Zambia have got provisions, meaning, is this mining tax good? Is export duty on precious minerals bad? People should analyze the issue. People shouldn't analyze that, oh, now that we are in the ruling party, it's a good thing. No. Political parties should be able to say our position as a political party on health care, on NIMA, on health insurance, this is our position. So that when you form government, don't change. That is why I'm saying, Collins, I'm seated here today. I'm aged 40. What I said today, you guys should be able to say, what did Christopher say 10 years ago? I should not just be here kula sabaila, because now I'm an opposition MP.
It's a call for consistency.
I should be able to say, what is the problem with lack of development in a rural area? It's because Zambia has no rural development strategy. Collins, if we had a rural development strategy, and part of that strategy, delimitation, all of us should be debating that strategy. The UPND rejected delimitation in the opposition. They are now in government. They are saying delimitation will take money to rural areas. That is inconsistent. Okay? It is a lesson for us in the opposition. As I come here today, I must discuss the principle. The principle is that when a constituency is smaller, it's easy to take resources to a smaller area. Look at Mandevu, look at Kanyama. Kanyama is too big that CDF can't develop Kanyama. What will develop Kanyama is a strategy for Kanyama. Kanyama is unplanned. When I say unplanned, it means it has no proper drainage. It has no, so it needs to be replanned for it to be developed. CDF can't develop Kanyama. Okay, so we must start asking
and we
ourselves.
have quite a number of
so even if we divided Kanyama into two, 30 million or 30 million, still more development Kanyama tetingile. What Kanyama needs is a strategy for Kanyama. What Kanchibia needs, what Malole constituency needs. The starting point would be, yes, Malole, let's create 2 constituencies in Malole. Kwa Makasa, Kwala Ibela. Near His Royal Highness Paramount Chief Chitimukulu, Kwala Ibela. It sounds good, it's a starting point, but to develop Malole, we'll need a strategy for Malole. To develop Mansa and Bahati, there are 2 constituencies which at some point were 1. To develop Bahati and Mansa, even if we pump in 90 million kwacha into Mansa, we will not develop Mansa.
Honorable, your closing remarks.
I support certain provisions, but we should learn to be consistent as leaders. And for me, my advice to the UPND, you are now in government, you rejected so many things that were in Bill 10, now you want them in. Let us generate ideas for development as opposed to looking at who is in power, which political party. This constitution making process is simply asking for one thing. Can we publish, can we make public the things that needs to be changed and let people participate? Then people will be able to say, the proposals are okay or the proposals are bad. Let people decide.
Thank you very much.
I'm grateful for inviting me once again.
You are very much welcome, Honorable Kangombe, and we are very grateful to have hosted you. Well, viewers, we have come to the end of Wednesday's edition of Millennium Tonight. We had a great guest in Honorable Christopher Kangombe from Kanfinsa, and we were discussing the Constitution. This has been your host, Collins Bwansamalipa. Until we meet again, good night.